The award-winning Cinema Classics is produced by John DeSando and Johnny DiLoretto. Listen to the shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm Johnny DiLoretto.
I'm John DeSando.
This is Cinema Classics.
It sure is.
You came up with a couple of interesting
topics.
topics.
I was reading Richard Brooks in the New York Times, and he had a whole column on evidence of class conflict in movies in 2017.
Okay.
So I thought we would do a poor man's adaptation of that.
All right, that's interesting. I mean, let me start by asking you though. Historically, hasn't Hollywood always hasn't there always been evidence of class conflict?
Of course. I think he was suggesting there was a little bit more than usual this year.
Yeah.
I think the best example is I, Tonya, where the ice skater,
yeah,
Tonya Harding.
Great movie, by the way.
Terrific. It has almost an insurmountable challenge of winning a berth on the Olympics, not because she isn't a great skater, but because she isn't a classy woman.
Yeah.
I mean, and one of the evaluators tells her that on the QT.
Yeah.
It's not all about skating.
Right. They want a certain presentation. They want this like Disney-fied kind of upper middle class.
Yes.
They want a little narrative there about upward mobility and manners and grace.
Exactly.
And she doesn't have it.
No.
And the movie does a great job of examining where that all comes from. She's poor white trash. She has an abusive mother, no father, and an abusive boyfriend, soon-to-be husband.
And she calls herself white trash.
Yeah.
She knows it.
Yeah.
So how do you overcome that when your whole life has been in that milieu?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have people who are evaluating you who are telling you that you can't make it to the top tier because you don't have class.
Yeah.
So it's pretty neat. Now, the other one, as you were mentioning it there, is a ladybird has a certain notion about that.
Working lower middle class.
Yeah, boy.
People, right, struggling to make ends meet, put their girl through school. And she has this little tryst with a kid who's rich. Right?
Yes. And it's not quite as heavy, for instance, as we might have it in the Florida Project. Did you?
Oh, well, hold on. Before we move on to the Florida Project, also it just occurred to me in Lady Bird that she is striving to become, to move up the social ladder. And so there's this girl who represents the upper echelon of the school clique.
Yeah.
And she pretends to live in a house that she doesn't live in.
That's right.
In order to trick the girl into thinking she's of a higher social caste.
And the irony is that she comes from an actually very nice middle-class place, Sacramento, California.
Yeah.
And went to UC Davis before she came to New York City. So she has a lot of good stuff going for her, which later on in the film she looks back on. I think she appreciates where she came from. But there still is that class difference.
Yeah. Interesting how this is going to dovetail nicely with our later conversation about women in film.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
So far we're talking about these class issues.
Yes.
But we're talking about
I know,
really powerful women.
Yeah, right. So now, a downsizing to me has a lot of the elements here, and I'm not sure you've seen that film.
I have not seen Downsizing yet.
Yeah. But where the Matt Damon character shrinks in order that he can help save the environment, but in reality where he can have a bigger house because he's so small.
Right.
He has something like
the concept is that there's a whole movement afoot for people to actually be physically shrunk.
Yes.
Down to 6-inch size.
Right, whatever.
So that they can make more of their existing resources, right?
That's right. So they get these doll houses that are really McMansion in real life McMansions.
Yeah.
And so there is that yearning to be a higher class than you really are, and what is the bank and all of their debts are holding them back. So if they can do this, if they can downsize, they can actually upsize.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So, well, what about Get Out?
Yeah. I'm glad I'm glad you brought that up because everybody's been talking about Get Out through the lens of race relations.
Yes.
But to look at it as a class examination is also really fascinating, right? So you have the girl, I forget her name. She's from Girls. She's from the movie show Girls,
forget
in which she plays
I'll
a similar.
edit that out, Evan.
Alston Williams.
What's her name?
Alston Williams.
Allison Williams. Thanks. Allison Williams from Girls.
Okay.
So in Girls, she plays a similar kind of character, like the one who's comes from money. She's the the debutante one, and here she plays a similar role, but with a twist, right? She's luring her black boyfriend to her parents' estate so they can hypnotize him and do a brain transplant on the guy. But you do get a sense of this, white liberal aloofness, because they're so just divorced from any other sort of reality.
Yeah. And so once again, there is no resolution for this. I guess there's just an attempt. If you're blue collar, or if you're trying to move your way up, there doesn't seem to be any formula.
No, but before we cut out, let's really quickly talk about 3 billboards, right?
Yeah.
Because class does play a role in there too. You have these working class people. They, some smarter than others, others destined to stay where they are because of their own limitations. Other people, trapped despite their fierce intelligence. I would say, like the Frances McDormand character.
Yeah. But I'm not so sure that has to do with class.
No.
Because it's a good point, because I was trying to figure this one out before we were doing the show, and I wasn't coming up as well as you were right now about it, because I was seeing them all as pretty much blue collar in this town. And is there a character there?
You know what? Class is sometimes character because of the texture that it provides the film. Look, if you're talking about a certain class level of character, it determines the production design, right? It determines what you see in the room, the carpeting, the Afghans thrown over the backs of old couches, the sort of ramshackle dinnerware they made. You know what I mean? It provides a visual texture. So when you're talking about class, think back on all the films of the 30s where everybody was in tuxes and drinking martinis, during the Depression, because people wanted to see that sort of escape. But class does become a character in a lot of these films.
You know what? I like that point of view only because it moves me off my spot. Because my take had always been upward mobility. Had always been, and approaching this topic, I had been thinking about characters who want to be a higher class than they really are. And you're saying, very rightfully so, it can be a particular class that you are depicting in that film. And it doesn't have to be social climbing of any sort.
No.
But rather all the things.
Yeah, you just want to explore.
Yeah.
It's anthropological.
All right. See, that's why we're partners.
I bring you up. You're upwardly mobile.
Right. But let's not forget, this is cinema classics.
Yeah.